What's going on, all you beautiful dreamers out there in TV land? I am Brian, and welcome to Sky's the Limit podcast. So tonight we got something a little special. Where we got a new co-host tonight. That way you ain't sitting here just listening to me babble on and on and on. But before we bring out the new co-host, let's go ahead and say some shout outs to who else is all here. Sean O'Connor, good evening. How you doing tonight? JNS Exotics, James Perry, how you doing tonight? We got SJS, Sean Fuller, how you doing tonight? And right now, that is all we have. So we are going to go ahead and bring out our new co-host. So without further ado, I introduce you, Brad, from Frontline Reptiles. What's going on,
Evening.
Brad? So
Oh,
say
not too much.
hello to everyone.
Hello to everyone that is on right now. See if I can see.
And
There we go. Now,
Sean, I gave you full moderation, so you should be able to add links and everything now into the chat. Sean says, "Hi, Brad."
hello.
So real quick, we'll go over some of the things for being the co-host. You should have access to the chats, bringing up chats and everything. You should have access to the banners and everything else. If you go into the StreamYard, it should have a little thing that says co-host, and it'll explain all your like permissions and what you're able to do. And that pretty much you should be able to do almost everything besides like delete people or manage the members. You shouldn't be able to start or end a broadcast, and you shouldn't be able to delete broadcasts. But besides that, you should have access to almost everything else. Um, we also like to try to keep the broadcast to about an hour, hour and a half, because Wiz has his broadcast at 9:30, and we don't like to intrude onto his time slot, and that's why I posted it out there when we first started up the broadcast, when everybody wanted to see it, because we didn't want to interfere with everybody else's. So with that, you have any questions or anything like that, Brad?
Now I'll have to dig around, play around, see what's all there, and then if I have any questions, I can reach out to you. That's not an issue.
And you're most welcome, Shauna. So tonight, I do have a couple topics that I wanted to go over with everybody here. So one of my questions that I had for everybody out there in TV land and yourself, Brad, is when you're adding new genetics into your projects, um, what makes the decision factor for what direction you take your project and your collection?
Oh, for me to do that, just starting out with everything, I don't know exactly like what genes will do what, so I use Morph Market as kind of a help. I will go into the calculator on there, and I'll put in, for an instance, what can I get with red striped clown to a hurricane clown, and kind of see what's out there. And if it doesn't show me any examples of it, I'll try to search it and see what's there. Or like I did the other last week, I think it was Black Friday. I reached out to you and I was like, Brian, help me. Which one?
Right, right. And that's kind of what brought up the question is, when you reached out and asked me, it started making me think like, well, what makes decides, or what makes us decide what is the genetic that we're going to add into a new project, and with the collection that we already have, because we can't just go out willy-nilly buying any genetic that we want, because it might not work with our projects or our future goals. And that, so what is that deciding factor that we look at? Now for me, myself, I know, I look at the market, I look at where the genetics are. I do a lot of research on what the genetics do in different combinations. Like you said, I go on and do the little research with the calculator and everything. But I also look at the popularity of the genetics as well and how heavily they've been worked. Um,
Yeah.
for a good example is DG. All right. So I don't like to give out all of my project information, but all right, one of the projects that I'm working, everybody knows, is the Perfect Storm, and that which is a 16 recessive. One of the recessives that I'm adding into it is enhancer. The reason I'm adding enhancer in it is because it's not heavily worked. Now, when I do look at genetics and decide, okay, well, this is what I'm going to add into my collection, and that is, I look at, well, I want a gene that's going to help clean up the pattern. All right. Now I know DG does that, but DG is also very heavily worked. There's a lot of combinations out there with DG. So the market value for Desert Ghost is going down. It's just steadily dropping every time somebody produces a new clutch with Desert Ghost combinations this, Desert Ghost combinations that. But at the same time, I know Enhancer does almost the exact same outcome that DG does. All right. So Enhancer also cleans up the pattern, but Enhancer isn't worked as heavily as the DG. So it's going to hold its value a little bit more. Um, so when I decide what I'm going to add into my collection as far as genetics, I take that into consideration. Now, with that being said, um, because I had a part two of the questions. Now, when you do you break down your genetics by percentage to help you determine what genetics you're going to add into your collection? Let's say your collection is made up of 27% hypo, 37% clown, 15% pie. You know, so would you break your collection down into percentage to help determine what those new genetics would be that you're going to add in?
I really wouldn't say that. Um, More and less what I look at, like I'm starting to find out because I was kind of like, nah, I don't want to play with clown. I really wasn't ever going to play with clown till I started looking into it more, and I'm like, wait, that's what I'm looking for is more of the unique patterns, the colorations, the distortions that it can do to the patterns, but also keep it very crisp and clean. So a lot of it's more of I look for like the unique, the beauty in the patterns.
Okay.
Besides the percentage wise, but I look to see what percentage wise is available of like what I want to play around with and see what it's going to do. If it's something where like pastel leopard, I have one. I have it just to play around and add it to others. But to make pastel leopard, there's just so much out there available of just that gene, like a
Right.
pastel leopard. So like, I wouldn't sit there and be like, yeah, I want to make some pastel leopards. They're beautiful snakes, but there's just so much of them out there that I don't have a problem, in a way being like, okay, here's $100 snake, but I would rather take that pattern and really, enhance it, make it unique, potentially catch some paradox in it.
Right. Right. Now, how do you feel about the allelic combinations, especially with so many more coming out with, like, let's say, they just found that chocolate, I do believe chocolate and spot nose are now allelic. And Justin proved that with the Dark Knight combo and he just posted a video, I think it was either earlier today or yesterday about it, and that. So how do you feel about allelic combinations, and would you work with those combinations in your collection?
I just actually discovered that not too long ago when I was looking up the red stripe allelic come up, and I was like, wait, what is this? So I had to search and I found out. I think it's kind of neat because, for an instance, um, like if Clown was a Lilac with like a incomplete, a co-dominant, it would be kind of cool to only have one of that gene and be able to put A and B together instead of having A and A together to make A.
Right. Because
It's something looked into. I know there's a lot of discovering that's done with it.
Yeah, there is. Now, because see, I'm kind of scared with the allele combinations a little bit. I am working one combination this year that is allelic. I'm doing the black pastel to the Enchi, which I do believe is a allelic combination. But
Okay.
like, I want to get into cryptic, for example.
Yeah.
But I have so much clown and so much het clown in my collection. Now, the reason I want to get into cryptic is because, like I was saying before, I look at the genetics, I look at how popular they are and what they've been worked. Well, I've noticed clown or cryptic has been worked heavily in with clown. So you get a lot of kryptons, which I understand that the krypton is a very powerful allele combination because you could put that krypton to a clown and make visual clowns or cryptics, or heck cryptics. And that, or you could put it to a cryptic and make cryptics or more or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So it can work both ways because it's pretty much a double het. Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, once you start mixing it in, then you're going down the same route that everybody else is doing, the kryptons. But like I said, I would like to keep it clean because the cryptic gene hasn't been heavily worked as a clean gene and just staying straight cryptic. Now there is a lot of well, I can't say a lot, there is few cryptic combinations. I know Charlie from Reagan Renee Royals is doing quite a bit of stuff with cryptic. Now, I am not sure if he's keeping it 100% clean or not, but if he is, that's amazing. You know, so I know the cryptic gene itself will hold its value, but I have, like I said, so much stuff that's clown, so much stuff that's het clown because my perfect storm, I'm working that, which it has the clown in it. Then I'm working the Holy Grail project, which has clown in it. Then I'm working my hidden project that also has clown in it. You know, so it's like, man, I got a lot of het clowns. I have a lot of clown stuff. So do I really want to get into these allelic combinations? So, um, not
That's
only this, well, I had another part of this. Now let me see if I can't find it. Mm, Let's see. Right. And to add to this, does anyone think that stacking these multiple recesses will lead down the path of what stacking multiple codoms did? For the newer people, the codoms weren't great. So what I'm saying is like before the recessives were a thing, everybody was stacking codoms. Who can stack the most codoms into a snake? And what ended up happening is the snakes ended up getting washed out, looking like dirty socks, as Chris Eaton would say. And that matter of fact, he would tell you a story about how he had a 6 gene codom that looked like shit. It looked like a washed out piece of shit. And that. So, do you think doing the multi-recessives and stacking the multi-recessives in like that is going to go down the same route?
I would say that there's a chance of it because, like, for an instance, if you look at Pied, once you get Pied takes a lot, depending on how the Pied turns out. You can get a Pied that has, just one spot on its body of color and the rest is all white. Well, you see sometimes where there's clown Pied. You don't get much of the clown pattern then or anything. You get, an inch of this, saddle from the clown, and then the rest of the snake is white. Or for an instance, with if it would ever come out like a bell, how do you know what's in there? You know what's in there, but what is it? It's a white snake.
Right,
So
right.
with stacking would all depend on what recessives, like desert ghost, clown. I'm trying to think of like another one potentially that could go in there. Um, because all Desert Ghost is going to do is kind of lighten it up and stuff, but you're still going to have the clown pattern in there. So you'd still be able to see it, and it wouldn't look as bad.
Right, right. So, so you
But
you
sitting
you
there and
don't think okay. So you don't think that stacking like I'm like my let's say the perfect storm project, the 6 gene recessive, and that is just not going to look like a washed out, let's say kind of like how the monsoon pastel monsoon looks, monsoon's great
yeah,
by itself. Monsoon's great in Orange Dream. Monsoon's great with Mojave, but you add pastel into it and it washes it completely out. You know, now do you think if we did, let's say, like, Monsoon, Ultramel, Clown, Pie, G Stripe, Hypo, VPI exam, and just starts throwing all these recessives into it, do you think it's just going to wash it out into a white snake, even though that animal is
I think potentially like with Pied in that combo, it could, because like look at like Spides, which is a banana. I mean a spider Pied. There's a chance in that pairing there, even though one is a dominant, one's recessive, you can still end up with a complete white snake. So you're like, wait, how do I know it's a spider? Oh, it's got a little wobble. Okay, so there's the spider in it, but you don't get any of the pattern. So that's
right,
where in recessives, it would all probably depend on like if you kind of had a lighter recessive, but then like a pattern changing recessive, a darker recessive, in the middle recessive, but not something that in a chance can give you an all white, recessive gene.
right, right. So, yeah, yeah, I completely agree. And, those animals are powerhouses, but, do we honestly just want to keep stacking on these genetics just to make an all white snake? I mean, if we want to do that, then why not just do a bell or, like you were saying, or, a fire, super fire, or ivory or something, if we want to do an all white snake and that. Now, grant, yes, these multi recessives and that if they don't wash out, then that could really change the game of the ball python, especially when you start talking about quad recessives, 5 dip recessives, and those are really powerful snakes. And then you start throwing them into codoms, you know, and I mean the possibilities could be endless, and until we actually start doing it, because I don't believe now. Correct me if I'm wrong, and anybody in chat, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe anybody's hit the quad visual yet. Like
Not that I've
I
even
know I know people's hit the double recessive visuals, the clown pied. I know people's hit the quad visual recessives, but I don't think any, or the triple residual visual recessives, but I don't think anybody's hit a quad visual yet. And I haven't seen anything. And you would think like Miguel or Justin or one of them, the ones that would probably be one of the first people to hit one of those type of animals, because they have the collection to be able to do that. Because when you're working quads like that, you're going to need 4 or 5 females or more with all the same quad heads going to a male, to try to up those percentages. So, and they got the collections to be able to do that. I ain't seen nothing from him. And like I said, Justin just posted a video about his Monarch, which he's calling the Dark Knight, and that so, and I guess the Dark Knight is a chocolate spot nose Monarch. So, yeah, didn't look too
And see,
bad. Go ahead.
to do though, if you want to do let's say a 6 gene recessive, you would almost have to make sure too, like for instance, it's like clown, or you have just pied, nothing else mixed in with that. You want a single gene recessive to go to that single gene recessive, or for instance, it's okay to be like, if you want clown in it, to be like clown het DG, but you wouldn't want any incomplete dominant or co-dominant in it. You would want
Right.
strictly recessive.
Right. Yeah, because to try to hit the visual, the more codoms you have in it, the harder, and that's going to up lower your odds and your percentage of trying getting that, all gene animal. And I get that, and that's kind of why I'm working the way I'm working, because like next year's pairing, one of the pairings that I'm doing for next year is I'm breeding up my double visual. I have a visual xanthic clown, which I'm breeding up to my visual lavender het pied. Now I'm going to test for the pied, and anything that comes back quad het, of course, I'm going to hold those back. And now those are going to be the only genetics in it are going to be those quad hets, the xanthic, clown, pied, lavender, and that's my next step towards the perfect storm. And not that I can think of, but that triple hit was super pretty. Pound xanthic. Oh, sorry.
That definitely
Oh,
sounds like it'd be kind of a neat snake to see.
now who hit that? Shauna? Oh, Dianto. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out, man. Cause yeah, that does sound sweet. DG Clown is Xanthic. Yeah, and like you said, I have a Xanthic clown, and that I can pull him out, and he's beautiful. And I could imagine putting DG in there, because that's going to clean it up, and that's going to make the whites a little bit more whiter, the blacks a little bit more blacker. And like I said, that's kind of why I want to work with the enhancer in my perfect storm. That way is making and cleaning everything up a little bit, you know. And plus the enhancer also brings in a little bit more of a yellowish blushing than what I think the Desert Ghost has. Um Billy Rose from Mutation Creation does a really great job. Dynamo at Blind Mice Reptiles. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. And like I said, I don't believe anybody's hit that quad yet. So, you know, fingers crossed. I'm going to have quad hets next year, and that coming into 2026. Those will be raising up, and fingers crossed, because like I said, that's the next step. So, what's your big breeding plans for this year?
I am going to definitely try. I want to make Super Red Stripe Clown.
Nice.
And uh, I also want to maybe potentially find another clown that would have to be a female, very close to breeding size, where I could get her to it. But it had to be clown again, because I want to play with the red stripe. I definitely want to play with that. After seeing some of the stuff with that and how much of it is out there but not out there.
Right.
Because red stripe by itself, it's nothing fancy. I mean,
No.
a normal pastel to a normal red stripe, I would go pastel. But it's wild to see when you make that super, you get a whole different look. The
Right, right.
pattern is up a lot. Um, so I wanna try to make some supers this year. And well, for next year, and then also I want to make some scaleless corn babies.
Okay. See, I'm growing my corn snakes and my colubrids out, and that because I'm going to do corn snakes and hoggies, but they're still growing out, so I'm good 2 3 years away from any breeding on those, and that. But that's real awesome, man. So you got everything set up for the brumation and all that because that's like one of my things that I need to get set up and everything for when they're ready. So
So I've heard it goes both ways. I have heard of people not brumating, where basically, let's say you keep your house at 75, and normally your rack, let's say, is at like 90, or your enclosure you have is at 90. Just by dropping the temperature just a couple degrees, I've heard from some people is enough. I've heard some people that literally have never done a cool down period at all. And after the winter spell hit their house, and it warms up outside, they slap them together, and just the change in the house was enough.
okay, because
So
yeah,
I'm
like
gonna try this year. I'm not doing
oh,
any kind of brumation at all, and I'm gonna
okay,
see if it happens. If I have, if it happens and I have 8 hatchlings, will come next year, 2026. I'm going to go ahead and do a brumation and see if I get a better turnout, or, is it the same?
all right, right. Now you're just doing the corn snakes for colubrids.
As of right now, because I only have one Cali King, and then the milk snake I was asking you about, because I know
Okay,
a little, not too much on it. Um, there was a really good deal about a half hour from here. It's a Nelson's albino milk snake, and
right.
the place wanted $59 for it. That was it.
Oh wow, wow. See, yeah, I
And
don't know much about milk snakes.
I know they like to musk a lot, and I don't know if I want, I don't know if I want the, right now, because of, I don't have an extra room for all my snakes. So right now they're in my bedroom with me, which is peaceful.
Right,
I love to sleep with them. They're just, if they get out, hey, I'm just gonna have a cuddle buddy. It's okay, you know. So it's like, man, do I want one potentially that's gonna, like, a pin's gonna hit the ground, it's gonna get spooked and crap itself in the enclosure, and then I'm like, wow, my room smells wonderful.
right. Be going into work like, what's that smell? Like, don't worry,
Man,
guys. It was just me. I was holding my milk snake this morning.
yeah. Did you forget to change your socks or step in some crap this morning? No, I put new socks on.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I ain't sure. I don't know too much about the milk snakes and that because, like I said, I don't keep them. And that we just, I think the newest thing to my collection is that leopard gecko, and that I'm still kind of learning about. Now, my wife, she's done almost a year's worth of research on them before we got it, so she knew what she was doing, but I didn't know nothing about it. I was like, all right, well, if you know what you're doing, do your research, get everything set up, get everything ready, and I'll get you one. So she got everything ready, did her research, I made sure she did her research for about a year, actually about a year and a half, and that because I think when we first met, we were talking about leopard geckos, and that when we first met at the one of the expos there, Brad, and that because I do believe I asked you, well, what kind of reptiles you had at home, and you were talking about your leopard geckos and everything. So yeah, she
Yeah,
was
I
doing her research.
I started out before I met my wife and moved to Florida, which I should have stayed in Florida, man, it was a lot warmer. But when I first got with her in 2014 and we moved back here to Ohio, I was like, I used to have a snake. What do you think about, getting another one? And she was okay with me, getting a ball python again. And at that time, it didn't matter to me what it was. And to this day, it still doesn't matter what it is. They all need love. They all need a good home. So I ended up buying a normal from a pet store before, I really knew that, okay, they don't care what they breed. They just breed to make money and get it out there. They don't care on quality.
Right.
So I got a female, and I had her for a little while. We ended up having to move it with my mom, and my mother is 100% terrified of snakes, rats, spiders. And she's a no-go on it. So I had to sell. So I sold her, and then we had the kids, and I said, well, I need to wait till they get a little bit older and realize, like, hey, we shouldn't just reach in and grab something. So this year, in the beginning of the year, I was like, what do you think about getting a snake again? So we got one. And it turned into 16 of them now. And well, you can get another snake if I can get a tarantula. I'm 100% terrified of tarantulas. I am not okay.
I don't do.
But I compromised, and I said, you know what? That's fine, as long as it is put away when I come home. I said, if it ever gets out, I said, the fire department, no, don't come to my house because I'm burning it down because the tarantula got out.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like, if it got out, it'd be squished. It'd definitely be squished.
Yeah, you ever see the videos of the Mexican mom chasing the boy around with the flip flop? Okay, that would be me running through, throwing shoes. It wouldn't be chasing the smack. I'd throw everything. I mean, pots, pans, everything would be going flying in that thing.
Oh man. So then, how long have you been married to your wife now?
We have actually been together since October of 2014. We moved back here December of 2014. And February rolled around to 2015, and I woke up and I said, hey, what do you think about going to the courthouse next Tuesday and getting married? And I was waiting, for the look of, I'm out of here. I'm running. Like, what's this guy thinking? And she said, yeah, let's do it. So February 10th of 2015, we ended up getting married. So we have been together for 11 years. We will be married for 10 come February.
Nice. Congratulations, man.
And if you ask her, that she doesn't know why she lasted 10 years. She's like, you crazy. She says when it comes to ball python stuff, she's okay. But when it come to me buying a boa, she said, what were you thinking? And I said, well, just know the snake, I wanted one. She said, no, that is a nope rope.
Yeah, I'll say this, keeping the marriage going, especially for 10 years, it's work. And, me and my wife, we've been together for about 17 years, married for 16, and oh yeah, I'll tell you what, the work that goes into putting it, keeping the marriage going, and keeping everybody in the family happy. I'll take the work of the ball pythons. I'll take the work of cleaning the rat tubs over that any day, man. But
yeah,
I love my family. I love my wife.
A little bit easier to take care of than the ball pythons because you need no heat. These are crested geckos. They are super easy.
Right. But yeah. Like, now, does the wife help you out with the ball pythons and everything like that?
So she will help me clean and do bedding changes. But when it comes to any kind of feeding with them, that is my responsibility. you would kind of understand a little bit when it comes to certain reptiles will only eat live. You can try all you
Right.
want to get them on frozen, and they won't. Anytime that I have to feed live, I warn her because she will plug her ears. She does not want to hear it. Um, she prefers not to do any of the feeding wise. But when it comes to like the crickets, she's terrified of crickets, but she feeds them.
Really? Really? But yet
Yeah,
she has a problem with feeding the live mice or in the live
yeah,
rats, huh?
yeah. She
No,
just can't do the squeal that they give out sometimes. That kind of
right,
bothers her because she's like, oh, it's so cute. Well, yep, its name's food. I mean, it's the life cycle. So
right.
when it comes to feeding, I do it because also the first time she watched me do a feeding, her eyeballs
Okay.
probably got about as big as her head because she was like, "It strikes that fast." I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah, and I think like I use that for when I'm vending and everything is that a lot of people ain't scared of actually getting bit by a snake. What they're actually scared of is that sudden strike. It's more of a jump scare than
yep,
anything. Once you get over that jump scare and you realize, well, the bite ain't that bad. The aftermath of the bite is nothing and you get over that jump scare, taking a bite from a ball python ain't nothing. Well, I take that
that's
back.
how
I
that's how I got
but
over my fear." So anytime I'd go and be like, "Okay, I'm gonna get you out," I know they can't hear us, but I still talk to them. And my wife's like, "You're
right,
crazy. You're talking to snakes," and I'm like, "No." I used to jump anytime I go like this and then move. I'd be like, "Oh, oh my god, oh my god." So to get
right,
over that, of being bit, I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna see if some will eat frozen thal. And I used to jump when they would strike at it, and then
right,
I got to the point where I could just sit there with the tongs like this, and I'm like, okay, I know you're not coming after me. You're going for the food. And I've also got to the point where a lot of mine I'm working on a hook train wise too. So when I
okay,
touch them with the hook, they know like, oh, this isn't food. Okay, I'm coming out. I don't use the hook to get them out of the enclosures or the rack. I only use it basically to just kind of stroke them a little bit with it so that they know that, hey, I'm coming out, food's not in the enclosure.
right. See, now I got one corn snake and that I have to use a hook on before I go to pick her up. Like if I go to touch her with my hand, I'm guaranteeing you she's turning around and she's nailing me like I'm a mouse because she actually, when it comes to how she reacts to food, she reminds me of a retic, honestly. She is so food motivated. Anytime I go to open up her tub, she's right there looking, you got food, if I make any kind of movements to change her water dish or anything, she's on me like I mean, I have to pull my hand out real quick because she's striking at my hand like it's a mouse. And, you know, my hand's the size, it's the size of a small rat. And she's striking at it like she wants to eat it, and that she's highly food motivated. So when I go to pull her out, yeah, I have to touch her with that hook, pick her up a little bit with the snake hook before I can actually go in and scoop her out. Because if not, she's nailing me, and I know for a fact because I took that mistake of, oh no, she's just being really acquisitive because I got other corn snakes, and that kind of the same way. But once they come darting at my hand and realize it's a big hand, they stop and that, and I can pick her up, no problem. But the one upstairs that I got, and that, oh no, 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 no. As soon as I went to go pick her up, thinking, oh well, she's just going to act like my other corn snake. No, she snapped, grabbed, wrapped, everything. Like, oh my goodness, God, girl, really? Yeah, you're not eating this hand. Like, there's no way, even if it was a rat, you're fitting this size down your gullet. But oh man, she tries. She tries. Like it reminds me of a retic.
Yeah,
But
I got the python that I got. She is the same way, and she's literally maybe 6 inches, 7 inches long. And I mean, a
Right.
number two pencil is fatter than she is. And she is very food motivated. You put that hand in there, or you even like open the enclosure to put water in there. She's instant, coiled up, strike and strike and strike. I'm like, you're gonna bite me, and my pinky is going to crush you when you bite me. Like, what are you doing? But if I
Yeah.
take the hook in, and if I basically take the hook in and get the hook underneath her body and just pick her body up a little bit, I can slide my hand right underneath of her, and she's like, "Oh, I'm coming out." And then
Yeah.
she'll sit in the palm on my thumb
And
and be just fine.
yeah, yeah, and be a complete sweetheart, because that's how my corn snake upstairs is. Once I get my hand up underneath her and she's coming out of that cage, it snaps out of that mode, and she realized, oh, I'm not getting fed, and she's a complete sweetheart. I mean, complete sweetheart. But until she's out of her cage, yeah, they're complete monsters, man. Like, so, another question for you, Brad. Do you guys have any kids, you and your wife?
Yes, I have a 6-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son.
Okay. Now, do they help with reptiles as well?
My daughter, she has held a couple. She has held one of my hatchling ball pythons. Um,
Okay.
but when it comes to any of the bigger snakes, she will touch them, like when they're on you, but she doesn't really want to handle them.
Okay.
She really likes her crested gecko. She calls it a jumpy. She and then she's more. We got a dog. She more likes to hang out with the dog and a crested gecko. We got the one of the leopard geckos that I sent you a picture of is actually one of
Right.
hers.
Okay.
The one that sits on my shoulder, like literally, I could go get him and he'd sit right on my shoulder. He'd just chill.
Okay.
But she is kind of deterred away from it a little bit. Like it was cool, but I'd rather go play with Barbie stuff like that right now.
Right.
But now my 8-year-old son, oh, it's a fist fight. When my wife's pastel leopard male comes out, oh, them two fist fight each other over it because he's like, "That's my snake," and he will chill on the couch with him, just draped across his
Right.
neck,
Right.
and he'll sit and watch TV for hours.
Okay.
And when you're like, "You want me to put it away?" No. He actually has my 8-year-old, his crested gecko we got from a show, and come home one day. I went to go feed it and make sure it had water. It was dead.
Oh,
It
wow.
crushed him, and you're going with Nana this weekend. I said, me and Mom are going to a show. I'll go ahead
Right.
and see what I can find. And that's the show that I was talking to you at, and I ended up buying that boa.
Yep.
Um, he loves that boa. He will walk around and he'll just walk around with his hand like this, and that boa's head will be right here the whole time. He will sit there and he will pet the underneath that boa's chin, everything. I'm like, buddy, your fingers are the size of a pencil. That thing eats a small mouse. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
well, a hopper, but I was like, a
Right.
hopper is
Right.
bigger than. Be careful
Yeah.
because by a corn snake, this ain't gonna be the same kind of bite.
No. 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 Yeah. Because I've been, like I said, I've been bit and wrapped up, food motivated bite, and that, and then I've been bit and wrapped up by a ball python, and complete big difference. I could just imagine a boa, man. So
Yeah,
now,
um,
how?
I have. My wife actually. I have a fun time sometimes trying to figure out names because I don't just like to be like, "Yep, that's a pastavi. Yep, that's a clown." Pied. They're family members, so they're all gonna have a name. So if I don't name it right away, one day I just get told this is the name. So like the spider girl that we have, she's a single gene spider. Um, she she's kind of finicky sometimes. So my wife
Right.
decided her name's Felicia. So I was like, one day I come home after buying, I think it's roughly 8 months to a year old. The one boa I have, and he's a good 3.5 foot long. He takes up almost all the back of my couch. my wife looked at me and she goes, "That thing terrifies me. Its name is now Lucifer." And I'm like, "Why are we calling my snake Lucifer?" She's like, "Because it's the devil to me. That thing's like scary." I was like, "Babe, it's not gonna like hurt you. You're okay." And so we and then I have a banana spide. She ended up naming Lucille. So we have Lucifer, Leo, and Lucille all on the same wall.
Now you just need to put one over there that's named like Clyde or something, and now you got LLC.
Yeah. I just told her, I said, I just need to find like the red stripe pairing that I got. I said, man, if they were just a little bit more spicier, and not so docile on Bonnie and Clyde.
There you go. Yeah, see, we started naming them, and after a while, once we started having our clutches and that, everything started going to numbers, and that especially when we started using the Husbandry Pro app and the Clutch app, it just seemed like it was a lot easier when we were entering them in, just to enter them all in as numbers instead of trying to figure out names for, well, we just had 8 babies, we got to come up with 8 names, so yeah,
You did thing 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Sure did.
The only ones that we're gonna name are like basically our main, like our breeders, our ones that are going to be staying with us. Any kind of that we have that will be going to show stuff like that, to keep track of it easier, they're gonna be more of just a number, or something simple.
Right. Now I will say, like, when we did have all our clutches last year or earlier this year, if what we did have a baby that like stood out among the other ones, we did give that one a name. Like, we had one that had a head stamp in the shape of a heart, and it was a perfect heart on its head stamp, so we named it Cupid. Ended up selling that. Actually, I do believe Chad Johnson, and that one of my very first guests got him. And then I had another one that was like, out of all the babies that I had, was the most spiciest baby. Actually, I still have him, and that because he was so spicy when he was a baby, and it didn't matter. I very first feeding, I threw a little rat pup in there. He smashed it. I was like, all right, good. He's going to be a good eater. You know, nice spicy baby. Anything I throw in front of this dang snake, he smashes. Mouse, rat, frozen, thawed, it doesn't matter, live. And that I did AFSs, he eats it all. So I named him Glue Trap. I was like, he's worse than a dang glue trap. And that he catches everything. Because you ever see how the glue traps, you go and put down the glue trap down, and you might have some spiders on it, you'll have some bugs on it. It catches everything. I was like, he's worth. So I named him, and actually I ended up keeping him. And that, even though he's really not adding anything to the collection, I was like, I can't get rid of this spicy boy. And now here's the funny thing is, he's a big sweetheart. Like, besides food day, when it comes to like feeding day, he's a monster. But any other time, he's the biggest sweetheart I've ever met. Besides my one that I use as my, goes to the shows, I hand out to the kids. Then that his name's PETA. He's my big puppy dog. He's actually like my sponsor, or not my sponsor, but my what would you call it? Uh, uh Dang, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Oh, dang, sorry, brain fart. I have the word right on the tip of my tongue, and that. But he's our ambassador. There it is. And that, he's the ambassador for Sky High Morse. So whenever we go out and people want to hold a snake, he's the one we let hold. Because I know I can take him, I can kiss him on his head, I can rub his head, I can do anything I want. I can hold his head still, pry open his mouth, and he ain't going to try to strike whatsoever. And that. So he's our ambassador snake. And that. But
That's how I have my first multi-gene hatchling that I got. I actually did some trading. So the first snake I bought was a Mojave Clown, and
Okay.
he just was. He seemed to be a pretty spicy little, a little spicy guy. And
Right.
at that time, my daughter really liked to hold, the snakes, and my son did. And I had him out one day, literally, and I walked. And when I took a step, he struck me twice in my stomach when I was walking. And I was like, what is going on here? So I ended up reaching out to somebody that I knew, and they did some snakes. And I said, hey, I got this, Mojave Clown. I'm looking for something, bright, kind of unique, that's going to be all right for my children to handle.
Right.
Well, this Mojave Clown that we ended up naming him Nudes because he looked like he was naked. And so the joke of that one was, anybody ever asked me for a nude, I took a picture of my snake and sent it because, hey, you asked for a nude.
Can I get a nude picture? Yeah, here you go. That's awesome.
Him out though, I ended up getting a champagne inchy banana, possible hypo, and she is just the sweetest girl ever. Never turned down a meal on me, nothing, and you can hold her in your hand and run. You can wave your hand in front of her and nothing. She doesn't try to strike, anything like that. My daughter will sit for hours holding her. She actually become the snake that I incorporated into my new logo that I'm still, I still got to pay for it. And to the lady that I know,
Right.
she would never go anywhere. We ended up naming her Nanos because she has, as of right now, she's got maybe like 2 or 3 of the black spots on her, like Banana gets. That's it,
Right.
though. She's beautiful. So
Hopefully she
she will.
just keeps those couple spots, because that's the
Yeah,
one thing I don't like about banana is when it gets all those black spots all over it. Like, a clean banana when they're hatchlings and them being clean like that. I wish they stayed that way their entire life, and that's actually one thing that why I don't work with banana is because I don't like those black spots that they develop. But
the 3 black spots that she's got, they're literally probably maybe an inch or so from her cloaca. So she has like none of the spots up towards, the middle to the top of her head, none of that.
so she's
And
nice and clean.
mostly, I don't know if it'll show it very well on here, but because I'll use my cell phone, so I don't know how well it'll show. But when I got her, let me see if it will. Maybe not. Okay, can you see that very well or no?
It's kind of bright. There you go. I mean, you can
Let
see it. You might want to turn the brightness down on the screen a little bit.
me see. Oh, that was
There
too
you go.
much. Let me see. I don't know. Okay, there you go. Can you see how her pattern is like really distinctive?
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Let me go like this real quick for you. There you go. Bring it back away from the camera just a little bit. There you go.
Oh, we're gonna black out. There we go. Okay, and you can see how she's not real bright either.
Right.
And this actually right after a shed everything. Now, if I go to where my daughter has a hold of her, because I know I have a picture. I'd say I'd pull her out, but I just fed her yesterday, so I don't want to mess with her too much. It's not going to be the best photo, but you can see that like her pattern completely, like she brightened up
Right. Yeah.
as she's getting older. Like the kind of like dulled out like tintness a little bit from the inchy is like going away. She is getting very, very bright, and her pattern on her is actually starting to lighten up a lot more. So you see a lot more of her bright yellows.
Okay.
She's one that, like, if I was ever to sell out, just get out of the hobby, I would never get rid of her. She would never go anywhere. And that's the same thing with the Cali King that I got. I just turned 30 this year, and I'd never been to a reptile expo, nothing. And the first one I went to was the first time I met you. You were selling the Gopher Coco, and you had the Brian Barczyk pie.
Yep.
I ended up buying the my Cali King there at that show for my birthday. And she's one that I've had so many people ask me to buy her from me, and I won't sell her. She's not going anywhere. We actually ended up naming her El Jefe, and if you look that up, that means the boss. Because, when we were live the last time, and we ended up going into the backstage and we're talking, I didn't think she bit me because my hands felt like other snakes. It doesn't matter what you give her, anything. She's gonna eat it. So she is El Jefe.
So let me ask you, how much does you and your wife, well, I should say, how much does your wife predict, or how should I say this? I'm trying to figure out his proper way of wording it. How much does your wife, and how much is she involved in the breeding process and depicting on what you guys are pairing and what genetics you guys add into your collections?
So basically, she leaves that up to me. And what I do, like anytime we're at a show or anything, and there's something that we like I said earlier, I'll throw it in the calculator and I'll kind of see what market is on it. But I also see, is it something that we're going to like if it doesn't sell in the market? Is it something that we're willing, like it's something that catches our eye that we're willing and okay with keeping it for, 3-4 years maybe, until it would sell. And normally I'll show her some of the outcomes, and if I get the I really like that one, then I know, hey, that's what I need to get.
Okay.
But like when it comes financial wise with it, I really need an adult, because I see something like that albino Nelson's, and I was like, babe, can I get it? No, we really don't need. I'm like, I'm just gonna ask for forgiveness. I think I'm just gonna go get it. When it comes down to the financial portion of it, I do try to make sure that she's okay with what I'm going to be doing. Like when we went and got that rack, I paid $100 for a 7-slot, hatchling rack. That had the tape already on it, thermostat, it had the Freedom Breeder tubs in it. When I went and picked that up, the lady actually was getting out of the hobby completely. And she said, I got hog noses. And I said, my wife likes them. You still got some. What do you want? She goes, no, I sold them already, but I have 4 snakes in the house still I'd like to get rid of. And I was, for a minute there, I was like, yep, I'm just going to take them. But I went inside, saw what they were. And when I knew it was a snow, my wife has always wanted a snow. So, she called me, hey, the kids are acting up in the car. Will you hurry up? I said, hey, she's got 3 snakes in here that are corns. She doesn't want anything. She just wants them to go to a good home. And I said, this is what they are. I said, realistically, I said, I'm going to pay her $100 for this rack, but have almost $1,000 value. And then, we talked about it, for a couple seconds. And I told her, I said, hey, I'm going to Rural King real quick. I'll be back when I'm done, and I'll take them. So that's the only reason I actually even have adult coins that are able to be bred, because the coin I have right now is way too low.
Right. So you're saying that she's actually pretty involved in the decision making of what goes on in the breeding process and everything too, and that
because
No,
it
I
comes
take it that you
to,
do more of the genetic wise than picking out the genetics and that, but she's the final go-to of if you actually get it or not.
yeah, it's more of like I'll play around with genetics, see what it is, and I'll be like, well, babe, you know what? It may only make like $100 snake, but look what it looks like, you know. And
Right.
if she's like, no, that thing's just, nah, that's basic. I don't want that. So I won't. It took me a little bit to convince her with the red stripe because she's like, that looks like a normal. What am I looking at? I said, the burnt
You're looking
orange
at the
to it.
color. Right.
And
Well, you're looking at the color with the red stripe because the patterning is going to be more of a normal pattern, but what you're looking at is those rusty reds and those browns that are turning more into a golden hue and that.
yeah,
So, but yeah. So,
so that's
but
it. Does come a lot of it where I do more of the genetic stuff, show her what it kind of is, and then that's when she kind of says yeah or no or do we really need another one right now?
so I take that you haven't been to Tuatinley yet, then, huh?
So we found out about it, what it was, and we were like, oh my god, we got to find somebody to watch the kids, and we wanted to go this last year, but it wasn't feasible because neither one of us get time paid off.
Right.
My job, like Brian, I'm a volunteer firefighter when I'm not at work, and my day job is home health care, so it's very hard for me to get 3-4 days off in a row because my day job life depends on me, and I have to make sure that somebody is trained with that person and know how to adequately take care of that individual. uh, Plan on potentially, if funding falls just right. I've never been to Chicago. I got to go get some deep dish pizza. I got to get
Oh,
and the Chicago.
delicious.
Got to get
It's
the Chicago
delicious.
dog. So
Uh,
depending on when we get like our taxes, for instance, if we would get our taxes before the Tinley show, I got some little bit expendable money there to play around with, and it would be kind of a fun trip to, in a way, have a date trip with my wife and go away for the weekend.
oh yeah.
Uh,
Well, I'll say this a little bit of a advice, little tip of advice. I did go this year, in October, and that did the 3-day VIP. Um, if you do go, do the VIP. It's well worth it. You're going to get in there and beat the crowd in there, especially on Friday. You get to go in before general admission isn't even allowed in there Fridays. So you get to see a lot of the stuff before anybody else does. Um, and make sure you give your wife your wallet, because if you're not, you're walking out with her in bank account. I know the first 2 days, I I ended up. That's how I got all my pickups. I got picked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 snakes, and that the third day, my wife was like, your bank, you need to give me your wallet. You're not allowed to have it.
Hey, she can have my wallet. That's okay. She just can't have this because I'll tap and go, baby, the whole time. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
how you doing,
that,
Eric?
that's my biggest thing is once I went to my first show there in July. It was actually the day. It was, I think, that Monday. It was July 8th. That was my birthday, and I think the 7th there was a show in Perrysburg. And ever since that show, I can't go to a show without the wife because I will walk out with something. I mean, it's addicting. It's
Brad, I tell you what, I go to my local shows that I vend at, all right? And I'll be vending and I'm still walking home with something in my pocket. I mean, it's I can't go to an expo without buying something. I mean, if it's coconut, if it's feeders, or if it's a new something, it's coming home with me and that.
go and feeders or bedding. That's like me going to the grocery store and getting a gallon of milk.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have no with that, I gotta come out with a new reptile. And that's why, for an instance, when I tell her, I'd be like, hey, I gotta go to Fostoria tomorrow. You know what? We're gonna go see Angel. No way. Right. Without me. Well, I gotta go get some feeders. It'll be okay. No, she knows I'm gonna be there for hours at Angel's looking, and eventually I'm gonna come home with something.
Right, right. But we've been on here for about an hour, and like I said earlier, I don't want to push into anybody else's time slot. So make sure everybody tonight at 9:30 over on the Whiskey Bomb Network, go say hi to Wiz and everything. Make sure you congratulate him on that new baby boy, girl that he just had. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, you have the lamest chat. And I do believe at 8:30, you have in your circle with who it's Holly from Texoma Exotics has a podcast tomorrow at 8:30 as well. So make sure you guys go and tune into them and that. Make sure you give us all a like, follow, share, subscribe, all that good jazz. Make sure you go check out Brad's IG over at what's your IG at, Brad?
I have not actually done an Instagram yet. I need to. My main thing that I post a lot on is TikTok, and hopefully it doesn't disappear. But I got my TikTok is just, it's Brad Allen, and Allen is Allen. So it's Brad Allen InBody, and it will actually, let's see if I can get it to, no, it ain't gonna do it. But it's my, it's going to be, it's going to say Frontline Reptiles, and it's going to be red in the middle. There's a skull with a flag draping over an eye. I post a decent amount on there. I need to make more content.
Right, right. And well, of course, and find you here every Saturday at 8 o'clock on this Sky's the Limit podcast. Now with you being the new co-host and everything. So remember, guys, with hard work, determination, and positivity, your dreams too can become a reality. And until the next time, see y'all later.